Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Bottom left-hand corner, we have Wizard starting again as the green Zerg. Up left-hand corner, we got Worst starting as the yellow Protoss. This is going to be on Polestar. Game 1, Worst in a dire... So lost, was able to assault a little bit, got some Zealots surrounded, lost a lot of Corsair after an assault, and all of a sudden was effectively trapped into his natural expansion, but through some brilliant multi-point multitasking, forcing his opponent to, honestly, I think that's something that Bisu used to, that's something I see that a lot of good Protoss do. And I want to name, Bisu does that extremely well, DeWalt does that extremely well, as far as other foreigners, and Worst showing a really, really good ability to force his opponent to multitask on multiple fronts. DeWalt does it, if you, actually, I do want to shout out Pro League if you guys have not yet seen it. Go watch DeWalt versus Hawk. He's absolutely the master of causing a flood of attack alerts simultaneously. It looks like Worst is going to end up with first scout. I don't feel like we're seeing a 9 pool again, interesting here, for Wizard. So, yeah, okay. Calling it right this time. 9 pool once again and gets scouted once again. First scout. Is he going to drop the gas? So drops the gas, goes for the cancel to get the additional drone out. I think he might have left it had he not been scouted overall, but going for the Overlord now in the midst of this and gonna do a little bit of disruption mining. I don't think this is attacking over the wall. You can position in here and attack a little bit over the wall, but you can also start your probe mining and it messes with the mining. You can see where, especially if you go for these patches, it can do some serious annoyance. It looks like we're seeing a forge opener once again. The Overlord is going to come across the base in the midst of this. A little bit of shield shred from the probe, not anything it won't recharge. 6 Zerglings now being built. The Zergling flood is going to require some cannons to be dropped. The Overlord's going to see the 2 cannons making their way across. And Worst doing a pretty good job of disrupting the drone at the natural, dropping a pylon. Might go for the, are the Zerglings going to try to clear the pylon? It looks like not. Worst is going to, or sorry, Wizard is going to make his way up, try to grab the 9 o'clock base, actually expand into his opponent rather than making his way towards the 6 o'clock. And is that? No, it does not get interrupted. Zerglings pressuring the front just to make sure those cannons are completed. 1 Zergling trailing, keeping an eye on that probe position. Are they actually going to shoot? Okay, yeah, they're going to go ahead and back off. I'm a little bit surprised he's expanding. So rather than going for the 6 o'clock here, that also has the ramp, by the way. Wizard going up into the 9. It's 3,000 gas and 3,000 gas. But what this might do is give, and keep in mind Worst spotted that. So what that might do is that might provide a little bit of opportunity for Worst to, if he does go for a little bit of a run out with Dark Templar or something along those lines, will give him a closer target. Also, you can see where this is very nearby droppable, and none of this is, you can kind of hold this area up here. But this is a pretty wide area where you can drop right on that base. And we know that Worst has been very, very efficient with drops in the past. Anyhow, gas mining. We are not yet seeing a... So we got the 3 bases queued up. No tech to layer as of yet. So we still potentially have an option. Okay, there's the tech to layer. I was about to say, are we going to see... I was wondering if we're going to see 973. I got a correction. My Worst is in the chat, actually. In the meantime, so 3 hatch Spire, not 3 hatch Muta. Need to watch my words. So probably 3 hatch Spire into 4th hatchery here, and then 5 hatch Hydra afterwards. Wonder actually, is there like a, I'm wondering who came up with that build, and then if we should just name it after that person. That, like, we have the Bisu build. Who was the first? Was it Jaedong who started doing that first? Whoever it was, we should just name it that way. Zergling speed being invested in, by the way. And natural expansion. And 3rd base starting to saturate. We have the cybernetics core finished. Wizard, in fact, spots it. Has 2 nearby Overlords. Not yet evacuating the one in the main, so that could be a sacrificial hit. Spire being built. Probe finally wiped out by those Zerglings. So Worst is going to have to either move out with the Zealots to confirm the Hydra's play, or, yeah, send out another worker, and he might be able... This is going to be interesting timing here. Clever, Worst pocketing and able to scoot underneath, so he's not going to have to force those Zealots off the front in the midst of this, and should be able to wander in and see whether Hydralisks are being built or whether the Spire is constructing. I find it odd that Wizard plops the Spire rather than in his main. He plops it here at the natural. I'm a little bit curious as to why that is, but Worst now spotting that Spire and spotting the drone saturation in the main. Got all the information he needs. Might want to draw out with that probe right this second. Maybe even plop it here at the 6 o'clock down the line. Fight a little bit of latent scouting there. +1 weapons on the way. First Corsair and +1 weapons being invested in. We do have the Citadel of Adun as well. And we'll see if there's a mid-game Gateway Flood or if we're just going to see straight High Templar once again. Probe able to shoot through the gap. Nice little Euro step right there for the probe to make its way out. And the Zealot's able to secure that way home, so Zergling's taking a spot of damage. Corsair making its way out now. I believe we're already at the 5 hatcheries. Yeah, Hydral Sten being placed. Spire just completing. Corsair sees the Spire complete. No Scourge. Okay, there is a Scourge queued up. Kind of curious the position of the Scourge queue. They're at the 9 o'clock, but we're just going to go ahead and be able to back out. That a potentially vulnerable Overlord top right, but I don't think Worst is going to make any risk that direction. At least not at this stage of the game. Templar Archives along the way. Preventative Cannon. Again, I like to see it. I also like the 2 cannons along this edge, which deter Mutalisk transitions. And now it looks like both players have an opportunity to kind of macro up and make those decisions. I think Wizards got to feel pretty confident about this stage. We do have the probe being trapped here. Oh no, no, get back there. Okay. No, get back, get back. You're trapped there for a reason. Oof, okay, so the probe successfully trapped behind there to help micro those Corsair. Scourge able to at least to get good eyes on things and sees the lack of Gateway Flood, so knows that there's going to be a higher Templar count, which is going to give Wizard the go-ahead to go for a little bit heavier drone saturation. I do worry that this is something that Zerg neglect in many instances. Few Zealots marching out. We will see a High Templar popping out in the midst of this, waiting on that 5th Corsair before Worst makes any maneuvers. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little bit later and some High Templar, so Worst going to delay the move out as well. We have a 6 hatchery, is that right? Yeah, 6 hatchery being dropped. This is something I've seen a couple players do in the midst of this. Zealots wandering out on the field right this second, by the way, as +1 weapons is finished. This is 8 Zerglings. There are 2 cannons. High Templar being defended by probes right this second. I don't think that was worth it for Wizard, and the Zealots are happy to get that damage and go ahead and back out. +1 weapons is finished, by the way. So a few Zerglings expended, and all Wizard was able to see that there were 5 Corsair at that location. But Wizard pretty well bunched up. I think this is why he opted for the 9 o'clock, is because of the stronger SimCity that he can produce here, by the way. Evolution Chamber working on +1 weapons in the midst of this, and you can see he's already surged to 45, and I don't know that there's a lot of attack opportunity here unless we see some fantastic micro from these Corsairs that do have +1 weapons. So sailing above here is one of them. The 2 of them take a decent amount of damage, and not a lot accomplished right there. Some additional Hydralisks making their way mid-map with an Overlord. Gateway Flood for Worst now. He does have a good amount of High Templar out on the front. I believe Psystorm has already been upgraded. Corsair is holding nearby to see whether the Hydralisks were going for an encapsulation or hunting them. They notice that they're in fact being hunted down, so redirecting, and I think they're hoping that the Hydralisks from the 9 o'clock location were fanning out. Unfortunately, they aren't holding, but critically, Worst is able to spot that 3rd gas, which suggests we're going to see a little bit more tech here, maybe an additional, maybe a 2nd Evolution Chamber. +1 weapons, by the way, complete now for the Hydralisks. Lurker tech on the way. Worst holding right this second, has a lot of Zealots. A few additional cannons being dropped here from Worst. I think he's hoping there's going to be a Hydralisk attack, but Wizard's still holding back. He's at a very healthy drone count and is grabbing the 6 o'clock location instead, opting to play Macro Zerg. This is a very, honestly, this is what I would say the difficult situation is for Protoss these days, is being in this exact scenario and not knowing whether your opponent is macroing or going for a Hydralisk assault. But right now, Worst able to cycle around. He's found the 6 o'clock location building. That should be an indication for him to maybe go out, drop some Psystorm, mix it up a little bit. Is going to find an Overlord in the bottom right-hand corner. Single Zealot sacrificing itself. Just checking the count out in the forward field. This Overlord and this Overlord might be easy pickings, by the way. In a bit. Range just about complete. We do have a lack of observers out right this second. That might be the reason for worse delay. We do have lurkers out in the field. Drones making their way out to the 6 o'clock. Wizard kind of going for a soft contained scenario where he's got the lurkers that could maybe support at multiple locations. And he's just got the less than 10, get the actual click there, 8 Hydralisks on the front to just provide a little bit of forewarning and potentially distraction and retreat. Also checking out the, rather than the inside 9, the pure 9 location, which might be, I mean, he's expanded up into his opponent thus far, might do it again here. Shuttle again before Observer here, so Worst likely going to scoop up. Well, he went with Zealots previously. I wonder if he's going to scoop up with High Templar. But again, this is that droppable area I was talking about again, and we're going to look at Wizard's vision. So the Hydra's being pushed out. Overlord gets picked off, and you can see where there's this empty space right here. Very kind of a thin little area where units can maybe be dropped, or maybe we can see a cycle kind of weave the space in between there from Wizard. For at least a close location drop play, the Corsair could make their way out and clear additional vision elsewhere on the map, maybe, for that dropship defined purchase. It looks like they're leaning their way forward. The High Templar are a little bit exposed on the forward ground. +2 weapons just about to finish, so look for Wizard to start being active, trying to pick them off. By the way, he's got this the economic lead, but not yet the supply lead. Might come shortly. And that's unfortunate. The shuttle being picked off there at the 9 as it makes its way across, but while that was wiped out, Worst making his way forward, so where he was looking for a distractionary attack, not finding it this time, and his troops getting a little bit out of position, so loses a Dragoon, loses some additional troops. Looks like he is going to march up and maybe clear out that 9 o'clock, but while he's doing that, he's also, I like this, distraction, with the distraction out here, is in fact taking the easier to defend 11 o'clock position. Mixing up, dropping some Psystorm, catching some lurkers as they're attempting to morph. No Overlord to provide support, so a small mistake here from Wizard. And a lot of egg cancellations. In the midst of this, finally the Overlord's there, but I don't know that they have enough to pick anything off. Ooh, that was a big loss of that High Templar. That had near 200 energy wandering out there to the front, but we're still winning this fight overall and now has a high ground position. But while I was distracted, some Hydralisks pushed into that 11 o'clock location. So the probe wiped out, and also that precious 11 o'clock base cleared out as well. So now Worst might have to walk in to the 9 o'clock pure or stage some troops up to clear out that 11 o'clock, and that's going to give Wizard more time to, one, he can just start going macro at this stage. He's got a lot of hatcheries and a lot of bases to work with it. Is he going to go for... Everything he's played at this stage leads me to believe that he is going to make the transition to Hive Tech. He is at that +2 weapons. He's making his way to +1 Carapace right this second. But right now he's staging a lot of lurkers in no man's land and building a lot of troops in between. So I wonder if he is just going to try to deny that third for as long as possible and to go for a contain. We'll see. Right now he's got nothing. Never mind. There's the Hive Tech click. I was about to say he's doing everything as though he's going to Hive Tech right this second, but I didn't quite see it yet. We're able to spot another base grab bottom right, and Wizard just with some smothering macro right this second. The Corsair trying to find something, trying to remain active. They've stayed healthy this entire time, gotten a lot of really good information. We're just trying to cut the needle. Yeah, making his way out. The Zergling's going to get distracted as they were on attack move. Worst, by the way, with the slight upgrade advantage with +2 weapons, +1 armor. But those High Templar are still going to be very vulnerable without that +2 armor upgrade. Some Zerglings running their way across. We're hoping to make their way in between. But we got a lot of Zealots that are going to be able to stage and hold the ramp. And actually it looks like they're going to get... Yeah, they're going to filter in to have better exchanges. But while that's happening, we're diving in. Oh my goodness, that Psystorm. That is about as painful a Psystorm on a Zerg as you will see. That was a lot of gas losses and more Psystorm on the lurker lines. An Observer did get picked off in the midst of this. Do we have another Observer Here, I'm not sure that it matters because we have 4 lurkers left. They're somewhat out of position. Never mind, 2 lurkers are going to be able to hold that ramp side, but we got another dead base bottom right in the midst of all that. Do we have enough Side Storm to maybe clear out? Looks like it's going to be a minute before we have an additional Side Storm. At worst, able to get a massive amount of damage done. And lurkers alone, honestly, that was an obliterating amount of Side Storm. Zerglings streaming back across, maybe wanting to get another shot at the probe lines or maybe catch these High Templar. Worst with some nice blockading. Yeah, Zergling's not able to find anything. Hive Tech is up. Adrenal upgrade's not there yet, by the way, but 12 o'clock base attempting to get grabbed by Worst, and that might get caught here. Zergling streaming ahead. Are the Zealots going to get there in time? Never mind, cancellation from Worst. Not going to risk it. More Zergling streaming across, just kind of little task force. And Wizard is going to grab that 9 o'clock into his opponent again, keep in mind, in the midst of this. Corsair spotting a few of these Zerglings scattering about. Are we going to see? Yeah, probe making its way up. So we're just going to go ahead and grab an additional 2 bases. Wizard not re-grabbing bottom right. And that might be a problem, as Wizard's grabbing an additional 2 and +2 armor and +3 weapons, almost complete. Zealots marching out to the 9 o'clock, going to be able to sacrifice their lives to at least spot the hatchery. Actually, they made it through the lurker line. Those are some hardy Zealots. A little bit weakened, but might force a cancellation. Looks like some Hydos making their way up that direction. They hit hard right now, keep in mind. So finally, okay, looks like they're weak enough where the Hydos are going to be able to clean that up. Another grouping of Zerglings managed to push through the gap. They're getting a little bit distracted, so the cannons are going to complete. Probe trying to defend itself. 1 cannon down, Dragoon making its way up. A little bit of an over-dedication of an attack there from Worst. And the Nexus getting dropped. But Wizard keeping up economically in the midst of this. He's got, how many bases is he running on? So main still has some minerals to its name, so does the natural expansion. He's effective, so these should be depleted somewhat sooner rather than later. He's got a sizable economic lead. He's running off what looks like 5 bases, so 5 versus 2. And he does have Defilers online. He's got Consume upgrading right this second. Workers are making their way to the 12 o'clock. So Worst has got some work to do, and he'll need to potentially transition a little bit more rapidly than normal to Reaver Tech to hold these outlying locations. Is definitely going to need some Archons, and in large numbers, to maybe deal with some, because the Splash still, Zerglings, Archons actually do pretty decently versus Zerglings and Splash underneath Darkswarm, as long as they're in sufficient numbers to get the Splash covered. Zergling's going to be able to clear that Zealot out at the 5 o'clock location to maybe open up additional territory. The Corsair's still active, by the way, and alive, but Wizard's done a really good job of making sure his Overlords are covered out in the base. Wizard just making sure top right hasn't been grabbed. We're scattering a lot of his army out on the field right this second. He's down 20 supply. Does have +3 weapons. But right now, I think his better bet, and it looks like that probe gonna get wiped out as it's trying to make its way top right. Yeah, just trying to grab what he can, it looks like, as best he can. A little bit of a lack of resources as he's getting these bases saturated. A little bit oversaturated, it looks like, here at the 11 o'clock. But just trying to hold mid-map, and I think he's hoping that he can grab top right, get some pylons, get maybe some Reavers, something out there down the line. Some Lurkers without Observer support, chewing into some units mid-map. Okay, there the Observer able to, along that right-hand side, and Side Storm actually dropping on one of them, so at least able to hold middle, but Wizard's now at maxed. He's maxed, he's got some Defilers out there. He can start picking some fights. And right now, yeah, large army here at mid-map. Is he just gonna rely on a Plague? Some Zerglings streaming in piecemeal, trying to pick up High Templar. Worst doing a fantastic job of keeping them alive. Worst has created a wedge in mid-ground, which has isolated this 9 o'clock. We do not have a Nidus here. And it looks like he's going to migrate to the bottom right. The hatchery is finished there at the 5 o'clock. This still isn't going to put him ahead if he wipes that out economically. But at least it would be a win. Able to get a great clear there. I think Wizard may be having some hotkey trouble because he's not fielding a lot of these troops all at once, or maybe he's happy just to keep an eye on that army and keep bottom or top right denied. So right now not saturating bottom right, but at the same time not dedicating units to defend it. And I don't see the Defiler. Okay, it looks like Plague not yet upgraded, so might have missed that. I think he's waiting on Plague. Interesting, we have Maelstrom upgrading here in the background from Worst. Potentially to deal with Mutalisk swap, or maybe even to get some better Psy Storms. Mid-map, also getting some Dark... he is going to build it, get some Dark Templar. I like that play, actually. Just because late game, when you have a massive macro Zerg like this, they can do that Mutalisk swap, at which point you just get overwhelmed. Especially you can see the main, a lot of this tech would be exposed in that exact scenario. Lurker is able to find some holes where Observers are not. And Hydralisks might be able to pick off some of these High Templar. Moving up, they're not targeting the High Templar. Instead, they're going to eat a Psy Storm and get cleared out. Lurker getting a lot of free damage on a lot of these units as they crawl away across. Corsairs walking their way up are going to confirm that 9 o'clock is active and might lose one of their lives at least. Little bit of action towards the top right. Wizard doing a good job of boxing that out. Is now dropping a lot of Lurkers to the bottom right so he can saturate. He's got Lurkers well positioned right there. And some Dark Swarm. Planting it, but that's potentially really Psy Stormable. Is that a word? I should come up with a different word for that. Zealots, by the way, dropped into the main. I think I missed a High Templar. What is this? The Zerglings attacking the Queen's Nest. Because they hate it. They hate it. Die, Queen's Nest, die. And a redrop there at the 9 o'clock. 2 Lurkers are going to be able to clear that out, but Wizard did end up losing a lot of probes in the midst of that. Worst repositioning to go ahead and reclaim top right and doing a good amount of harassment. It looks like I think there was 18 drones that were wiped out in the midst of that. If I remember what the count was prior and what the count sits at now, but we have an additional base up bottom right. How many depleted gases do we have? So we got 1, 2, 3, or sorry, Natural Expansion still has gas. Beautiful Psy Storm right there. Oh my goodness. Get some Hydralisks on top of drones. So Worst really getting some good damage done. Zerglings scattering out. They are going to find some, well, I was going to say they're going to find some High Templar. They're instead going to blow up on top of a Reaver. Plague lands on the Reaver. Doesn't get a, I don't think that was worth the Plague. It got, what, a Reaver and a Zealot? And we have this shuttle that's just going to sit back and let all of that energy restore, and that could be a big factor down the line. We'll see. Dark Templar are clearing out a lot. Top right. This is +3 weapons, +3 armor, by the way, and +1 shield for you. We have, yeah, just +2/+2 opposite side. So again, upgrade advantage for Worst going to the late game. Both players are maxed right here. I like Wizard's position. Wizard's still in a scenario where he could grab bottom right, and he still can wander out and Plague, and he's still denying top right to Worst. And doing a fantastic job in doing so. This could be the X factor, the shuttle with this lone High Templar. Worst now trying to grab top right. I do believe that Wizard needs to respond to this immediately. If Worst is able to grab top right and the lower side natural, and just sit back and continually move out shuttles and Psy Storm and whatnot, he will end up in a better scenario over the long haul. Another shuttle, by the way. Not finding, I'm not even sure what's in it here. Not finding anything right that second. It does have a High Templar in it. Scourge making the way out. Too late. Psy Storm dropped. Able to get some drones. And Worst remaneuvering mid-map. Yeah, and I think this might be the game-losing maneuver. We'll see. He's allowing Worst to grab top right. And bottom right is being denied in kind. More Zerglings making their way out. Some drones being refilled. I think the shuttle out here went for another drop and died. Somewhere in the midst of this. Sorry I didn't catch that in the midst of all this action. It's been hard to keep up with. Plague on a few troops mid-map. Worst not liking his odds here, but no pursuit again from Wizard. A few Zerglings being sent up top right. Zealots are going to be able to clear that. And I think this is the concerning situation, is Worst now has top right. He can just walk down, grab the natural expansion. We do have bottom right being grabbed there from Wizard. But late game Protoss being able to get resources a lot more, just Zerg's got to throw stuff at late game Protoss. Late game Protoss has Psy Storm that regenerates. And Reavers that can do a lot. More Plague, by the way, mid-map. Defy, they're going to lose its life to some Psystorm. Drones trying to transfer. In the midst of this, getting a tail end of a Psystorm and a shot. And more Zerglings and Lurkers running midfield. Worst, rather than sitting back passively across these bases, forcing the fight upon his opponent. And as a result has been, he's going to end up losing the Reaver, but he's been forcing out smaller fights where his upgrades advantage is really humming. He's been in these big ball. By the way, we do have that Dark Archon in the midst of this. He's got this big ball, +3 weapons, finally finish, and +3 Carapace, almost there for the Hydralisks. And when it's smaller attacks versus smaller attacks, can really do amazing things as long as he's not getting hit by the Plague. That'll be the trick of it. Kind of running fight, try to dodge the Plague. Psystorm on those Hydralisks. Because it's all about good exchanges right this second. And you can see again, Wizard with a few troops, he's coming up with 3s and 5s and whatever not. And just coming in piecemeal, and as a result, not even burrowing these Lurkers right this second. Oh, nice. Able to get the Maelstrom on the surface Lurkers, holding them in position so they can't burrow. But even though this looks like it's going to get cleaned up, that was a good, what, 8 Lurkers killed in the midst of this? High Templar redrawing. More troops. It looks like more Lurkers crawling their way across. These observers should, and the High Templar should definitely exit if they can. More units making their way top right. I think Wizard recognizing he needs to deny this. My question is this is too late? But a lot of the troops not in position after that last series of exchanges. Another cannon getting dropped. We do have 250 and a Dark Templar in the midst of this. The Overlord barely survives, so we're not going to see a hero Dark Templar blockading all of this. This is a small gap to try to break. Zealots trying to do what they can. Again, some great Psystorm across the Lurkers. A couple observers getting picked off and forced their way out. The reinforcements here from worse, but honestly in inferior numbers. But this is just, yeah, I was about to say field. This is kind of like where you're the tallest object in a field and your hair starts standing up on end. You need to start worrying. A Plague and also a Dark Swarm dropped to at least open up a little bit of movement here top right. Is Worst going to be able to redraw and make his way back out there to another drop now at the 9 o'clock. That gets cleaned up fairly easily as Hydralisks are there in the field. A Lurker is there. We have a Psystorm, maybe, in 4 seconds. And the Archon with Splash, maybe, if he can get on top of it. Never mind, there's the Psystorm going to clean it up. Another base up for Wizard there at the 3 o'clock. Again, the bigger problem, though, is that Worst is held top right and is now starting to gain a foothold on that lower natural. He does need to transfer the workers that direction. That could be the next problem. 2 Reavers in a shuttle wandering out in the map right this second. And again, just the piecemeal attacks. Wizard's in a scenario where it could turn into a long-term starvation scenario. And so he needs to make sure he's getting good exchanges rather than just pouring out these troops like water. More size, again, beautiful Psystorms. Finally getting on top of these troops. The Reaver is going to be able to get a lot of splash on top of this. Drones fighting, trying to do what they can. And the army getting cleaned up. And pulled back. 6 o'clock, I don't know what happened there, but it's now empty. So 6 o'clock empty. There's a bit of minerals left at the main. This is leaving bottom right mining and the natural in the bottom right mining, as well as the 9 o'clock for Wizard. So he's mining at multiple locations. He's sitting at a pretty good drone count. Is now moving, is thinking better of attacking top right, is instead going for a flood contain of Lurkers, Hydralisks, etc. back at the natural. Might have even be able to assault into this location if he can get enough Zerglings up here. A lot of troops walking across Lurker lines and getting wiped out. But the Observer and the Reaver are going to be able to clear out what's left. Another drop now at the 9 o'clock. This time it lands and all of the drones getting wiped out. And it looks like Wizard's attempted contain pressure not going to hold. Zealot's still alive there. Zealots are well-named units. Really well-named. I just want to note that. Zerglings getting through. This is actually a scary attack force. That might be able to wipe out top right. If it goes now, would be the problem. It's got to go now. Shuttles making their way across there, and it's too late. Reavers are going to be able to get up there. Oh, man. If Wizard had gone just a half second earlier and assaulted this, I think that would have been a dead base, but now has an option of defense. Whereas cleaning up the front in the midst of this actually still might be okay. The Reavers haven't landed, and the shuttle gets wiped out. Never mind. Top right is going to collapse, and now this is Wizard's game to lose. A lot of the probes getting cleared out as well. 12 o'clock is no longer mining. Wizard has put Worst in a null scenario. Some Zealots managing to drop there. Checking bottom right. The Reaver dropping there is going to be able to wipe out a drone. But Worst is no longer mining. And that now the Reavers become a liability. Drone still mining in the bottom right. Wizard has he's going to go ahead and make his way out. He can re-grab bottom right, no problem. Worst does have a war chest to work with, but with this war chest, he's got to carve up, retake top right, and do so in a hurry. The lurkers, let's see if they press down. They need to get to that ramp site. It looks like Worst has a 20 supply lead, and all of it is right here, defending this very brave probe. Lurkers not trying to spread out away from Psystorm range. Observers are in pickoff range, but good early pickoff to thin the herd of Hydralisks. The longer he can hold this contain, the less favorable it gets. Clever from Worst, actually opting to drop the low ground rather than try to push into the high ground. So putting a timer on Wizard to try to break that. 9 o'clock is a little bit mining here. We got an idle drone, which does not help. The other thing for Wizard, he's got more territory and a few additional options to work with here. Worst has broken up top right. Bottom right getting grabbed here from Wizard. So it looks like Worst, man, dodged a sizable bullet there. Hydralis pressing outside the natural expansion. Looks like they're going to be able to, by proxy, kill 2 High Templar by wiping out that Archon and a few other units. Supply counts are even. Worst doesn't have that Nexus up top right yet. And does he have an observer nearby? Just needs to float that observer back across. Is he just going to drop a Psystorm? Wizard, in the meantime, drawing some troops towards that natural. They are spotted by the observer as they walk their way across. Drawing a couple Zerglings top right as well. We have another shuttle active, by the way, with some High Templar, etc. Dark Swarm and Plague look like it's going to be able to clear out. There is a Psystorm being dropped, but it doesn't look like it's going to be sufficient. So Wizard now starting to carve out the main. This is just going to deny gas right this second, which I don't want to say is nothing, because even depleted gas means more High Templar, oftentimes, for Protoss late game. That's kind of that's one nice thing about Protoss late game is as long as you have 50 minerals, you have that depleted infinite gas, so you can keep fielding High Templar and Archons in theory. Bottom right-hand base starting to get saturated there by Wizard. Shuttle dropping short. Lurkers are not burrowed here. And so more drones getting wiped out. Bottom right, they're going to scoop right back up. Are they going to be able to find the main? There are some... Scourge going on the assault. Both High Templar land. By the way, main getting carved out in the midst of this. It looks like the Scourge get wiped out, but a lot of drones wiped out there as well. So damage both directions. Worst now has the problem where he needs to rebuild. So how many... So we got 5 of these gates empowered, 2 remaining. A Dark Templar being constructed to try to rectify the situation. A Plague can be the difference. Wizard up in supply. Natural expansion mining for Worst. That's his last mining base. Does need to trying to rebuild what he can while he can. It's going to be refugee status from here on out. Getting some of the critical buildings. The Templar Archive is really the big one. Really, really the big one. Meantime, Wizard throwing some defense forces out bottom right. He's got, so Wizard in a great situation now. Up on supply. 9 o'clock still producing. He's still got some leftover minerals in his main. He's got bottom right starting to mine. He's got the entire bottom right-hand quadrant of the map mining for him, and he's starting to clear out the main. Worst is trapped top right. He's going to have to rebuild a lot before he's ever going to have an additional shot. He's actually moving out with the shuttle and the Reaver, a very risky maneuver. Briefly dropping short as he sees some, I think he saw the edge of some troops making the way up. Reaver's going to crawl their way forward. Oh, able to scoop up. Plague hits the shuttle on retreat. Reaver scooping back up. As soon as they pick off the Hydralisk, that will really open. Now they can just hide inside that shuttle. Doesn't matter if it's plagued or not. So getting some good exchanges right there, but not able to stop Wizard's economy. In the midst of this, Wizard sees that upper right-hand nexus coming online. High Templar getting a storm off. So buying some time. The probes, I like these probes desperately. Kind of like the wartime probes. Doing what they can last second. Some more lurkers making the way forward. Now it's interesting because the contain locations shifted to top right. Those lurkers not providing a lot of help right there. We do have a drone, by the way, waiting to go ahead and grab that 3 o'clock location. Is mid-map? There are a little bit of resources mid-map. I don't think that's going to be a factor. I think this could go to Wizard, and that could go to Wizard as well. Worst has a very, very, very high uphill climb now. Starting to drop additional gateways as his base being completely carved up is going to end up losing a lot of pylons, losing effectively everything else. Still has a pretty good vision out on the map between his Corsairs and Observers. I'm kind of curious what Wizard's up to in the midst of this. Still hasn't grabbed this gas bottom right. Looks like he's just concentrated on carving out everything in the midst of this. So we got 1 depleted gas and 2 active gas, which isn't nothing. Corsair are going to go ahead and push those Overlords out of the field, which let's look at vision in both directions here. Worst vision, it's okay. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. Troops starting to regroup. Wizard near 200 supply. We have 2 Reavers in the shuttle. Low ground. We're grouping some troops up. This is very risky because if Wizard drew everything to bear. Ooh, and is he going to lose the... Oh man, that was a nice micro. Right that second to drop that out. This is going to be very, very challenging. From this point forward, he does have a lot of High Templar. He's starting to get some cannons down. But this can get plagued and softened up, and I would also like to see an Overlord drop upgrade in the midst of this, because a Doom drop on the main would be GG. We do have a few Hydralisks here at the 3 o'clock, maybe, to do that. And Wizard really should encapsulate vision across this entire edge, because they're a shuttle able to sneak out. Another drop, no, never mind, just a Corsair here. Bottom right, I thought that was a shuttle that somehow snuck through my vision. That will be a shuttle in a moment. Shuttle able to drop. And more drones getting, more drones getting wiped out. Zerglings able to pick up a Zealot in that corner. Thing is Wizard's in a very dominant position right here, so he should be able to it'll take him some time, but should be able to rebuild that without too much trouble. Still, High Templar getting value somehow in the midst of this. Lurker finally might be able to wipe out that cannon top left. Yeah, I'm waiting to see the ring of Overlords around here to just spot everything. He doesn't need to... I don't think this is a great attack here at the 12 o'clock. If he's going to assault the 12 o'clock, maybe go for the Overlord drop and cycle around. To make it just a little bit more value effective, because this is now War of Attrition. Dark Archon with... Keep in mind, we do have Maelstrom upgraded. Pylons along the corner to watch Overlords that might be coming from that direction. A lot of the troops are interestingly staged from Wizard here in this pocket. We did have a Mutalisk swap, by the way. So we got 6 Mutalisks out here. The Lurker not targeting the cannon like it should. Looks like enough Hydralisks are going there to clear the rest. Now we're starting to see... I just want to see the Ring of Vision out here. And we kind of have a Ring of Vision, but we still have some pockets where Worst could maybe get out on the map. Because that's what it's going to take, is this some Psystorm drops. I guess Reaver drops, maybe? Worst actually, it's surprisingly high supply right this second. 141, there's the Archon High Templar late game that we were talking about. The rest is getting cleared out. This is 2 pylons will be the victory right here. Looks like this is going to get yeah, this isn't... I don't even know that this is... Yeah, you get the depleted gas, but I don't know that that's even worth taking out. I guess it's less to worry about. This Nexus also still hitting right there. Worst, walking his way down to grab that 3 o'clock. This would be huge if he can hold, and he might be able to hold this because this is kind of a nice little territory in between. He's got a lot of Archons. Worst now in the red, by the way. But wow, he's opened up a 3rd base. And actually, if he takes that, he'll be economically ahead. Shockingly. But Wizard's still got a massive bank to work with. So yeah, I don't like the assaults here, focusing on the 12, focusing on the main that didn't have a lot left. Instead of maybe doom dropping or making sure that Worst wasn't going to be able to sneak out and do something like this. This could be mega for him. By the way, we have a Greater Spire being morphed. Feedback on the Defiler, wiping him out. Observer picked off on the corner. Hydralisk poking, but there are Reavers there. At least able to pick off an Archon, it looks like, in the midst of this. Oh. And Wizard trying to go from the north and just getting absolutely melted by Psystorm. Worst's trades have been great thus far. Still has 3 shuttles, by the way, to maybe assault the 3 o'clock and everything bottom right. A lot of drones still out on the map at various locations. It looks like that base, 9 o'clock, just about out. An Archon and 2 High Templar grouping up to maybe make something happen. Nexus is online at the interior 3 o'clock location. And this is where I wanted to see that vision ring. It looks like the lurkers are spotting up, but we don't see any response from Scourge or other troops. Wizard just doesn't see it, apparently. Maybe getting lackadaisical at the 40-minute mark, concentrating on sending a few Zerglings up. But now, High Templar finding... They're going to find territory to drop here on the drones. The lower natural. An assault here from Wizard in the midst of this. A lot of drones dying. Wizard actually might be able to push into this. Lurker's getting a lot of damage. A lot of these units are pushed back. The eggs being opened up. The Reaver, I don't think... Okay, was waiting on Scarabs. Able to get the Scarabs out. Looks like a... Unfortunately, neither... I think there's like a splash damage happening there. Yeah, finally. The Archon being wiped out. And we have Guardians making their way out. Oof. But they're eating Psystorm immediately. And unfortunately, the Psystorm might work against the Guardians right this second, because that protects the High Templar and the Archons while they're sitting underneath it. Okay, just now finishing out, but a lot of the Psystorm clearing out a lot of the Guardians. This might be the final assault here. As if these bases go down, that'll be it for Worst. And it looks like Hydralisks have managed to push their way through. Now Worst drawing the emergency troops out of the 3 o'clock location, leaving that potentially vulnerable. Probes are getting annihilated at that location. It looks like that upper left had a few troops make their way across, but now a wall of Archons is here. Keep in mind, splash damage still works underneath, and Psystorm actually able to clear it up. Are you kidding me? A single Hydralisk is there. We have some follow-up lurkers, but the lurkers getting boxed out. So Worst lost a lot of probes right there, but still holds. This has got to be very frustrating for Wizard. Has restarted, it looks like he hasn't re-engaged mining there, doesn't really need to re-engage mining. Did the shuttle? I'm going to presume that shuttle got wiped out sometime in the midst of all this. Overlord and a Defiler back here in this corner. That should get pretty quickly cleared up. At least there's drops upgraded, which I like to see. These two guys just chilling. Few Hydralisks trying to make their way forward. Maelstrom dropping, which is blockading a lot of these troops out. Oh, and more incredible Side Storms in combination with the Maelstrom. Worst holding it. Wizard now bringing everything to bear. Trying to attack the 3 o'clock simultaneously, drawing a lot of Hydros to that location. We have a wall of Archons still in the way. No Side Storm at the 3 o'clock. The cannons are now falling. So it looks like the 3 o'clock is in fact going to get wiped out. We have 5 Archons on location, and Worst is dropped to 27 workers here at the late stages. Bottom right hand base still sailing, 3 o'clock base still running. And things are looking grim for Worst. Because Wizard can now go ahead and grab that base. That will be effectively it as far as what's left out on the map. We're going to see a fully mined out map? Might be crazy. Wizard has a huge bank to work with. But Worst getting a little bit feisty. So we got 2 Dark Archons and a bunch of normal Archons with a Corsair that's been around forever and a High Templar, and that's it. And somehow we got a drop out again in the midst of that. That might have been the same shuttle pocketed somewhere that I didn't even see. So more Side Storm dropping, and another Side Storm, bottom right. Clearing out critical mining. Okay, now some Overlords making their way bottom right. This is what I was waiting to see earlier. Never mind. I was gonna say, I was looking for, so Plague getting dropped. Plague doesn't really affect a lot of these guys because they're all shield at this stage. It affects the Dragoon, which, man, that Dragoon's seen better days. He's got COVID and the flu simultaneously with that Plague. That shuttle make its way out again? I presume not. 3 o'clock base humming. Wizard still has a lot of drones. I do wonder where they are. Worst on his last legs here. Still has a very healthy supply somehow. Somehow. But Wizard still has the supply lead. I'm still looking for the late game Hydros Doom drop on the main. Instead, we're seeing some defensive creep colonies getting dropped there at the 3 o'clock. I mean, this is very droppable. More High Templar are being constructed. Maybe the 2-1 punch, we'll see. More troops scattering across. Coming a little bit piecemeal. Wizard cannot afford to do that right this second. Well, I guess he can. He's got near 6,000 resources. Another Maelstrom. Archons. This is the picture you see on the box right here. The late game assault on both ends. Worst attacking into his opponent, so trying to negate that Dark Swarm as a result. The Dark Swarm actually working for him now. And that assault again repelled. And a lot of Worst's army remains. He suddenly got the supply lead in the midst of this. Now I'm wondering if Worst can... Oh, never mind. He's going to walk up. I was going to say, can he just sit back and push through and carve out a full 3 bases worth of resources? Instead, he's going to walk up and re-grab the Nexus at the 3 o'clock again. And Zerglings running up, going to go ahead and fold their way back. Wizard's got to be frustrated here. Supply counts are even. Actually, never mind. Worst just took the supply lead. Somehow. 30 workers in a prayer. Main is about mined out, by the way. As is the natural. Zerglings running forward, trying to pick off High Templar. Not able to get anything. Worst gonna draw back. Recognizing he wasn't gonna be able to hold. Archon's clearing out the Zerglings now. Looks like an assimilator was grabbed, but that got wiped out fairly quickly. Every little bit of resource counts right here. And Worst now starting to walk his way forward. Is he gonna go on the assault? He has to, maybe. Because this is gone, that's gone. Sending a Dark Templar to clear out the Zerglings there at the 9 o'clock. Very Side Stormable there. Bottom actually could assault bottom right. Seeing a base trade scenario now. Probe's trying to defend it. There's a Dark Templar in the midst right there. No Overlord, and Dark Templar having trouble making its way. Focusing on the Templar Archives, that would be huge. Yeah, if he's able to wipe out that Templar Archives, that would be enormous. Speaking of Dark Templar, we have... Oh, never mind. Shuttle wiped out. So low ground Nexus was wiped out, but it's not a big loss for Worst, honestly, because nothing left there. Instead, he's going to march in and wipe out the mining base at the 3 o'clock location, loses another observer. He's got maybe an observer left. Interesting here with these assaults is going to try to cut off Wizard's lifeline. And with some Maelstrom, we have some more Guardians making their way up. But we do have some High Templar here on the low ground. Yeah, Maelstrom going to delay a bit of this. 2 Archons going to try to clear everything else out. Dark Swarm dropped, but again, not able to provide the support it's looking for. So Worst again able to win another fight and wipes out the 3 o'clock. Guardians on the high ground, however, and every unit that gets picked, and he's in no man's land right now, where a lot of these units are just getting pecked away at by these Guardians. We have additional Psystorm to wipe them out. I don't think we have a Corsair. There's a Psystorm and a Guardian that made a little bit too far forward. Units attacking nothing. Attacking nothing. Again, the Dark Swarm working in Worst's favor right there. And Zergling, unfortunately for Wizard, he keeps running into the best tradable situations here. Moving up the Zerglings to deal with the Archons along the left instead of moving in the Dark Swarm on the right, and somehow that's been cleared out. Zerglings filtering in and getting wiped out by Archons top right. And the 3 o'clock has been mined out. So bottom right is all that's mining here for Wizard. And resources somehow are about even. Wizards just had really, really good trades all the way through this match. Has a sliver of resources left. Might want to try to distance mine at the 3. He does have resources we could try to re-grab it. If he manages to get the 3 o'clock up, he wins the game. And right now, Wizard may be in trouble. Has some Guardians and Mutalisks. He's on the defense, actually, bottom right. The Reavers slowly clearing out the Lurker lines. Here comes the Guardian, but do we have Psystorm? We have some Psystorm to work with to clear them out. Oh man, Maelstrom and Psystorm now. Nice play here from Worst. More Zerglings and Lurkers trying to make their way forward now. For Wizard, he's now in oddly a defense scenario here versus Worst. I don't know who to call right this second. Big Plague, which helps a lot, but right now, Wizard just hasn't been able to stand up to the unit composition. Lurker's finally getting underneath the Darkstorm. That will be, but oh man, bunched up and getting hit by a Psystorm as well. But at least able to clear out a lot of the troops that remain. So we got 4 Lurkers that are left. Not a lot of troops left here from Worst. Another Maelstrom. The Archons should be able to wander up and clear that out now. But they're also running into Lurker fire. Is the Observer here? The Observer does have range upgrade. 104 versus 99. And plummeting both directions. This could come down to the wire. Reavers still have a little bit of resource to work with. They can range the Sunkens. The Archons do not care at all about Plague. And Wizard getting backed into his last mining base, bottom right. Worst no longer mining. Probably gonna have to distance mine at the 3 o'clock. Let's see if he starts instigating that. Yeah, has some Zealots making their way out to the 3 o'clock. If Worst can get the 3 o'clock up, by the way, or either the 2 o'clock or the 3 o'clock in his possession, he will win at this stage. Overlord wandering up to see whether that's grabbed or not. We have a probe making its way up. And the other problem with this 3 o'clock base for Wizard is this is a high ground. So the secondary problem for Worst, though, is this is high ground where Guardians could peck away at this from that low corner. Wow, this is kind of crazy. So Worst, last minute, going to grab this 3 o'clock base. That'll be 1 base versus 1. And Wizard doesn't have a lot of resources left bottom right. Scourge wandering the way across, seeing that being built. Zerglings flooding across and getting wiped out. Another big plague, but I think these units have been plagued multiple times over at this stage. And as soon as the cannons come online, I think Worst can just crawl up here, literally crawl with the Reavers. And that'll potentially be game. There's the Guardians over the high ground. Do we have an answer for this? I don't think we have any more Psystorm. The Guardian's going a little bit too deep. Feedback on one of the Defilers didn't have enough energy. Yeah, a little too deep. They need to back up. Doing what they can here. And they need to not get... Oh, are you kidding me? Mind control? Mind control on one of the Guardians, by the way. So that is worse Guardian now. Mind control actually really good late game. 3 o'clock base is now running. Worst down sub 300 versus sub 1500 on Wizard's side. Unbelievable. I thought Wizard had this game multiple times, but now he's mining out. He has a few resources at the 6 o'clock and a few left at his main, but no additional bases to grab. Except the 2 o'clock, which is honestly on worst side of the map. Dropping various feedbacks with his Dark Archon before drawing back. Also staging a Dark Archon that has enough energy to drop a Mind Control there at the 3 o'clock. Wizard attacking into the high ground. And the Reaver Scarab's able to obliterate everything, and now Worst walking into the Sidestorm, which is making those Hydralisks ineffective once again. One of Worst's major crimes has been this, is providing the Dark Swarm for Worst. The Hydralisks do nothing now. And he can't afford to be losing units like that. He needs every single unit at this stage. But Worst all of a sudden mining at the 3 o'clock. Gonna distance mine at the natural. At least the 2 o'clock isn't down, but now Wizard is mined out bottom right. This is insane. Overlord just trying to spot things. Sees the Betrayer Guardian out there. What is he thinking? Who knows? Wizard currently neglecting the little bit of resources that are out and about. And Wizard's basically out of resources now. This is it. So he's got to get it done. He's undersupplied. And he's got to get it done with the units he has. And I'm not sure how he's going to get it done. Dragoons marching forward, able to pick off another Defiler. Going to get some Overlords as well. These are units that Wizard cannot replace. This is crazy. Looks like he's going to try to take it from the back. Maybe if he can catch these High Templar by surprise. Psystorm dropping. The Guardian becoming a factor here. Dragoon getting also distracting some of these. I think that might be it. Yeah, they're Wizard GG's. Worst takes game 2 and advances in an unbelievable comeback. Holy cow. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. GG. Well played, Worst. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for listening.